Hello folks, welcome back to Scott Rods. Right, today I'm going to wire up my water temperature sensor just to see how hot this engine is actually running. So in the last video I started installing my interior wiring, custom fuse panel, all that kind of stuff, but I've kind of hit a hurdle just now because I'm waiting on some big ass fuses coming, you know, the big 100 amp for the battery, 50 amp to the ignition, all that kind of stuff. These things all cost money, so I'm having to wait for that. But meanwhile, I really want to see how hot the engine is getting, and even just sitting in idle in the driveway. So that's what I'm doing today. So let's see what we've got. So this is my little water temperature gauge, pretty basic, but it is set to have the danger sign after 210. If it gets hotter than 210, you're in trouble, unless it goes back down. But you want the, I think my thermostat cut off or cut on switch should come on about 200 and take it back to 180, something like that. So as I say, if it goes into the red, it's too hot and something's not working. Right, on the back you have, fairly simple, let's see if we can see this. Positive, negative and signal wire. I can't actually make out which is which. Oh yeah, it's upside down. So that's my signal wire there. That's my positive wire there from a constant feed from the battery, fuse box, whatever. Negative just goes to earth. Right, let's see where we're going to install it and what it's going to connect to on the engine side. Now, because I would say the water temperature gauge is probably the most important gauge after the fuel gauge, obviously. No, this has got to be the most, I would say, important gauge. I want it visible, so I'm going to put it in this hole here. I need to widen this hole a tiny wee bit. It's not quite cut round. I must have enlarged that at some point. So that's going to sit there so that I can see it very easily. I do have a little gauge pod that I got from Alan at Hoots Hot Rods, and that will be for my fuel gauge and my volt gauge and possibly a clock. I'm not sure, unless there's something else I've forgotten that can go in the third hole. But that will sit there, and it's nice and black, it's not too obvious. I'll need to make some sort of cover for the back so you don't see all the white parts of the gauges. Anyway, I digress. Right, so that's where the gauge is going, and as I say, I've got a positive, negative and a signal wire. So I'll show you where the signal wire goes. On this build I'm going to use green wires for all the signal wires. So for example, this is the TAC signal wire. This green one here is the fuel gauge signal wire. So I know if I see a green wire, it's a signal wire. Right, let me show you where it connects in the engine. So there was already a thermostat switch installed on this engine when I got it. I don't know if it works, but everything else in the engine works, so I'm going to presume it does for now. So I will just, basically a little spade connector, a female spade onto that, and then run it away from all this hot stuff into the dash and onto the gauge. Fairly straightforward so far. Right, before I even wire up the gauge, I want to make a permanent earth that goes from the fuse box to the firewall and everything else. I currently have a big earth bolt coming through the firewall, which is attached to both the engine and the frame and the battery. So I wanted a big solid thick one that I never have to worry about again. This is, I've had this forever, I'm not even sure. It was before they started giving them numbers. I think that says strand 65/0.30 millimeter, 1606. I'm going to say it's probably a 6 gauge wire. It's pretty thick. So I never want to have to worry about the earth on this car. So, a couple of big round connectors, and I remember to put the shrink wrap over first. So I'll just slide that over, heat it up, and that'll be my earth strap from the fuse box to everything basically. Remember how to switch this on. Oh, like that. Whoops. That's a bit hot. I don't want to burn the wire at this stage. There we go. Try not to go too far with this stuff. I have burnt it in the past, which defies the point, really. Did I call it shrink wrap? Heat shrink. I'm thinking about food already. And we're good to go. Right, I'll go and install that in the car and get back to the next thing. Right, earth strap is installed. I might as well get the wiring set up for the gauge while I'm here and in a shrink wrap, heat shrink kind of mood. Right, let's do that. Right, so we have my earth strap, we have power cable, and we have the signal cable. I need to cut a little notch along here so that it can slide onto that pin. I did make one, but I forgot to put it on, that one there, because, you know, it's me, I forgot. Anyway, I'll cut that little notch and get over to the car. Signal wire attached. You know what, I might wrap that green in some of that conduit stuff. Maybe a bit of, you know, a small version of this. It's going to get quite hot in that area and I don't want that to burn in. That would be showing me the wrong sort of temperature. Anyway, that feeds into the dash. It's okay for testing for the moment. Alright, inside. So I have trimmed this hole, so that's a nice snug fit. But obviously I don't want to fit that at the moment because I need to poke the wires through. Right, this is my positive, which I'm going to plug in to another spare terminal on the fuse panel. And that's fused with a 10 amp for now. I think that's probably about right. Poke that through the hole for now. Signal wire green coming from the sensor at the engine. Poke it through the hole. Come on. And the earth, which is attached to this earth bus bar. Everything on this bus bar is earth. To the frame. Through the hole. So, let's get this wired up. Installed, so I guess we need to test it now. If all else fails and this doesn't show anything, it means that the sensor at the front is malfunctioning, and I've actually got a replacement, but I thought I would try the one that was already in the car anyway, already in the engine, so we'll give it a shot. Okay, fingers crossed, here we go. You guys can watch this little gauge along with me. Now, I know what you're going to say, that's way too hot before the fan cuts in. The fan did actually cut in around 200 when it's supposed to, and it did slow the temperature down to about 210. However, this is like one of the hottest days of the year. It's like 36 degrees centigrade, close to 40 with the humidex. The car's stationary and it's got a small fan. I think it actually did quite well considering. So I'm fairly confident I could take it for a drive, a wee test, not right now, but when it's ready I'll be able to take it for a test drive, see what the temperature's doing at that point. And obviously later in the year when it's not quite so swelteringly hot, it possibly could work just fine. Not long term though, I do want to get a proper full-size radiator, but this will do for now. Anyway, the Guage definitely works, and the cooling fan is still on, which is doing nothing except cooling the water in the radiator. It's not cooling the water in the engine, which is kind of pointless really. Anyway, so I'm pretty pleased with that. I still have a lot of wiring to tidy up, but as I say, I'm waiting on big fuses, Maxi Plus, or whatever it is, Maxi Pad fuses. I don't know what it's called, but I'm waiting for them to come before I go too mad with the wiring. I don't want to have to do it all over again. But the ones that I have done are shrink wrapped, so they're pretty good to go. Heat shrunk? You know what I mean. Anyway, that's me for today. I'm going to try and make shorter videos, around about 10, less than 15 minutes. Because I know you guys have got a lot going on, and the last thing you want to do is sit down for 25-30 minutes to watch me rambling on. So I'm going to try and keep it to about 10 minutes and around about 6 o'clock each day. You know, pencil it into your diary. I know you guys are busy. Anyway, thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe if you've not already. Good things coming up. Bye bye.